With close to 3,000 horsepower at 45 psi of boost, Malones Z06 Corvette holds the record as the fastest rear-wheel drive car anywhere in the world at a half-mile race event. With this much power in a rear-wheel drive chassis, traction is obviously going to be an issue, but despite this, Morris regularly competes with and beats the more common four-wheel drive Nissan GT-Rs and Lamborghinis. The heart of the package is obviously that 3,000 horsepower capable engine, and while we've seen the LS engine gain popularity all around the world, unfortunately there's no way that a stock LS block is capable of supporting that sort of power. Morris has reached straight for the top shelf using a Dart LS Next 400 cubic inch block. For those of you who work in metric units, that's 6.6 litres. Now while the LS Next block is still an aluminium block, it is much stronger and much stiffer than the stock LS block, and it uses a much thicker ductile iron liner for the cylinders, and this is the key to being reliable at such high power and such high boost levels. Topping the LS Next block is a pair of Edelbrock LS-R cylinder heads. The key to the power though really is getting airflow into that engine, and this is where a pair of precision 88mm Gen 2 Pro Mod turbos come in. These are a pretty large turbocharger, and even on a 400 cubic inch engine this does become a problem with lag. Those two turbos are running up to 45 psi of boost, depending on exactly whereabouts the car's running, how far down the strip it is, and how much traction is available at the time. Having 3,000 horsepower on tap is all well and good, but actually getting that power to the ground is the key to trapping at 236 mile an hour. Now this is a combination of some clever tuning as well as the electronics package that's fitted to the car. Now this is all based around a John Reed Racing MoTeC M150 package. The MoTeC M150 controls the ECU as well as the boost and the nitrous system that's fitted to the car. Now the nitrous system isn't actually fitted in order to achieve more power, but with a pair of 88mm turbos, lag, as I mentioned, is an issue. The nitrous is set up in two stages, just purely to bring the turbos up on boost at the start line. Once the boost pressure reaches a predetermined level, the nitrous system is deactivated. Normally at sea level, only a single stage of nitrous is used, and this is a 100 horsepower stage. Here at the very high altitudes at Pike's Peak, this results in a lot more lag from the turbochargers, so a second stage of nitrous, which is an additional 150 horsepower, has been included just purely for this event. Once the turbos actually start making boost though, these become self-energizing in essence, and the nitrous is no longer required. Now, as well as this, the MoTeC M150 also controls the boost pressure, stepping it up as the car goes down the racetrack. Now, the idea here is to tune the boost pressure to suit the amount of traction available at each point down that half-mile airstrip. This, when done correctly, allows the car to remain in full traction the whole way down the strip. However, of course, we may also encounter the situation where traction is overcome and the car breaks into wheel spin. Of course, this can be incredibly dangerous, so there is a traction control strategy inside the MoTeC M150 that is used to counter any wheel spin. This is done in two ways. Initially, a small amount of ignition retard can be used to cope with just a small amount of wheel spin. Retarding the ignition timing reduces engine torque, and by reducing the engine torque, this can re-establish traction. However, if the wheel spin is severe enough, then ignition retard alone isn't going to be enough. Ignition retard on a turbocharged car is a double-edged sword. When we retard the ignition timing, this actually creates more heat in the exhaust system and the exhaust manifold, and in turn this actually can provide more exhaust energy to the turbo, in turn increasing the boost pressure. Obviously, if we are traction limited, the car's already wheel spinning, the last thing we want is to increase the boost pressure and then make more power. So if ignition retard alone is not enough to control wheel spin, then ignition cut is used. Ideally, none of these strategies are needed though, and this all comes to tuning the power delivery of the engine to suit the track and to suit the day. Now, managing the power delivery is obviously important, as we've just discussed, but the other aspect that's often overlooked on these half-mile race cars is aerodynamics, and this is an area that Morris Malone has put a lot of effort into. I was told that at one of the first events the car competed at, prior to the fitment of the rear wing that's so obvious on the back of the car, they were having problems running anything in excess of 30 psi of boost. This allowed the car to run what was still an impressive 223 mile an hour. However, the data logging showed that even with 30 psi of boost, this resulted in around about 7% wheel spin from the start of the racetrack to the finish. Now, obviously, when you're already battling with 7% wheel spin, there's not a lot of potential to add more power to go faster. So after assessing their options, the rear wing and diffuser were added to the back of the car. Now, what this does is provide a lot more downforce, and in turn then the boost can be improved or increased to provide more power. Now, by just fitting that wing and doing nothing more, this resulted in the car going considerably slower due to the increase in drag. However, through further development, they could then increase the boost pressure up to 45 psi while still showing negligible amounts of wheel spin, and this resulted in the 236 mile an hour world record, an increase of 13 mile an hour from where they first started. We've talked about the traction control strategy and the boost control used by the MoTeC M1 ECU, but of course the M1 ECU is also controlling every other aspect of the engine's operation, including the fuel delivery and the ignition timing. When it comes to the fuel delivery on this engine, it is running on methanol fuel, and this requires huge volumes of fuel to keep up with the engine's demands. On average, we need around about 2.5 times more fuel flow on methanol fuel compared to pump gasoline in order to make the same amount of power. This also requires a lot of injectors. The engine's fitted with a set of 16 Injector Dynamics ID2000 or 2000cc injectors, and these are delivered fuel via a Waterman mechanical fuel pump that's fitted at the rear of the car. The mechanical fuel pump is the go-to fuel pump for very high-powered methanol drag engines, simply because it's difficult, if not impossible, to find electric fuel pumps that can cope with the required fuel level flow. One of the big advantages with methanol fuel is that it has some great cooling properties, and this means that intercoolers aren't an essential item on turbocharged cars, and this helps simplify the installation as well as reduce a lot of weight from the engine bay. Getting all of that power to the ground is the responsibility of a heavily modified TH400 automatic transmission that's fitted to the rear of the car, along with a billet torque converter. Now, unfortunately, this is actually part of the car that has let the team down this weekend, braking fairly early on in the running. So unfortunately, this also means that we're not likely to see Morris improve on his existing world record right now. Despite this, the car is a relatively fresh build. There's a lot more development to go into the car, and there's a lot more power on tap. So we look forward to seeing what Morris can do over the coming events.
If you like that video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and if you're not already a subscriber, make sure you're subscribed. We release a new video every week. And if you like free stuff, we've got a great deal for you. Click the link in the description to claim your free spot to our next live lesson. You'll learn about performance engine building and EFI tuning, and you'll also have the chance to ask questions which I'll be answering live. Remember, it's 100% free, so follow the link to claim your spot.